Good morning! It is 3:30 p.m., which means it is time to talk about my favorite books that I read in 2023. Today I read 63 and counting. I use Storygraph to track my reading, so I'll put like some stats around me so you can see kind of what I was vibing with this year. I'll go through my top 10 books and then a few honorable mentions. None of these are in order. They're just books that I think about. Okay, let's get started. First off, we have House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. And if you know, you know. That book had me screaming, running around the house, freaking out. I am so excited for the third book to come out. That is the second book in the Crescent City series. Next up, we have Heartstopper, Volume 1 through 4. I binged these. These are graphic novels by Alice Oseman, and it follows Nick and Charlie. They're in high school, and it just follows their little love story. It's really cute. Then we got Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. Oh my god. So I read the entire Throne of Glass series this year, and I liked all the books. Some were better than others, but this one, the very last book, damn. I was depressed when I finished that. I did not want to let go of those characters. I love them. That was a beautiful series. I loved it so much. I'm gonna end up rereading that. And then I read the first two Sandman comics by Neil Gaiman. We watched the Sandman show on Netflix, and I was like, I'm getting into reading. Let me try the comics. I don't know what it is about Dream. It's just really beautiful storytelling. And speaking of Neil Gaiman, I also read Norse mythology. I love reading about mythologies. Any sort of mythology retellings are really cool too. I took so many notes on that. It made it so easy to understand, but also like a story still. But like, here's a bunch of facts about Norse mythology. I don't know. Neil Gaiman is amazing, and I loved that book. I kind of want to own it. I want to buy it. Oh no. Then we have House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I talked about this book a bit in my last video because the sequel is coming out next year. Still, I highly recommend everybody read this book. It is so beautiful, so cute, so funny. It's like a warm hug. It's a good time. Next up, we got A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan. It's about this woman who is getting ready to get married, and she's like, I don't want to just marry some guy just to be a housewife for the rest of my life. I want to go off and study dragons. And so she does. She goes off and she studies dragons. It's an adventure. Yeah, there's 4 books out right now with a 5th on the way, I believe. But I'm really excited to read the second one. I also read and loved The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. The Lord of the Rings has always had a really special place in my heart. So I saw The Hobbit in a free little library, yoinked it, read it, loved it. I actually felt like I was going on an adventure, like I was there with Bilbo. I'm thinking 2024 will be the year that I read the trilogy. Next up, Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. I also talked about this one in my anticipated releases because this guy's sequel is coming out next year as well. This was a beefy boy. He was a long boy, but damn was it good. TLDR, this guy's a silver saint who hunts vampires, protects everybody from them, and he has to find a holy grail to save the world because the world is like in perpetual darkness. So he goes off, and this is his story of that. I love this one so much that I originally read it on my Kobo, and I'm like, I need to own this. When I went to my local bookstore, he had this there, and I'm like, fate, thank you. And turns out it's also signed, so that's cool. All right, last book in my top 10, Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This was also a big warm hug, just like House in the Cerulean Sea. We follow Viv, orc lady, and she's like, I'm done fighting. I'm gonna retire or something. So she goes to this little town and she opens up a coffee shop. This was actually the very first book that I annotated, tabbed up, and I'm definitely going to be doing this more often because I remember way more of this than I would have if I didn't. Yeah, that. Loved it. I also have the second book that came out. I believe this follows Viv before this happens. Yeah, but still, I'm really excited to read this one too. So there's my top 10. Now for the honorable mentions, that I just need to say because I loved them. First off was The Martian by Andy Weir. Cried. So good. Even if you've seen the movie, read the book. Amazing. Then we have Fangs by Sarah Anderson. This is a comic. It is about a vampire and a werewolf who fall in love. It's just a love story between them. It's just a cute little comic. I really do love this one. And the only nonfiction book that I read this year was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. It's weird saying that this book was good because it just made me angry seeing how fucked up Hollywood can be, or like parents of child stars and Nickelodeon, like children's shows. Just to give you a taste, in the prologue, just looking at this quote makes me angry. For context, Jeanette is an adult at this point, and she says, "Mommy, I am so skinny right now. I'm finally down to 89 pounds. Oh my god, like, I forgot how emotional that book made me. Yeah, that was wild to read, especially because like my sister was really into iCarly. Oh god, I feel horrible for her. Moving on. Next up is Abaddon's Gate by James S.A. Corey. This is the third book in the Expanse series. It's The Expanse. What more can I say? Space. It's been a while since I've read this, so I don't remember like a ton of details, but I do remember that the third season of the show did do some things differently, but like I was okay with the differences. Like this was still as amazing as the third season. Then we got The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This book felt like a movie. It's about this circus that just pops up out of nowhere, where magic exists, but the magicians who actually have magic do their illusions in front of these people to make it look like magic doesn't exist. It's a really cool concept, and I really enjoyed it. It really felt like a movie. There's a lot that goes on in this book. And the last book is The Last House on Needless Street by Catch Your Own Award. This was a crazy book, man. I need to reread it. It's a you gotta reread it book. I can't really say anything about it without giving anything away. I love psychological horror, and this scratched that itch. So that's a list of 16 books that I loved in 2023. For the rest of the month, I'll just be finishing my reread of the ACOTAR series. And if you want to keep up to date on what I'm reading in the moment or what's on my TBR, my Storygraph link is always in the description. Let me know in the comments if you also loved any of these books, or let me know your favorites of 2023. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.